Yo guys, what is going on? JPS back for another video, and today we're going to be reacting to the Infinity train in Australia. Now this train apparently, it's for a mining company in Australia, and it requires no energy. It uses the gravitational forces when it's going downhill to power its trip back uphill when it's pulling whatever resources it is, because it's like a mining train. So pretty interesting. I have no idea how this works. That's the only background information I have, just based on the title and description. Super excited to learn more about this because I don't think we have any locomotive technology like this in the United States. But who knows? Hit the like button, guys. Hit subscribe. Now let's get right into it.
One of the perks about having a mediumly popular YouTube channel on renewable energy technologies is that I get contacted by a lot of inventors who tell me that they have come up with a way to get free energy via some sort of complicated mechanism. In fact, I get so many of these that I made a whole video on the laws of thermodynamics and why perpetual motion or free energy isn't a thing. And that just led to a flood of people contacting me to tell me that they had found a way to beat the laws of thermodynamics. And do I want to invest in it or maybe promote it on my channel? So yeah, those are annoying, but maybe in response to them, I kind of love engineering projects that look like perpetual motion machines, but actually aren't. One example is a video I made explaining Veritasium's video on Rick Cavallaro's downwind faster than the wind device. It takes most people, including me, quite a while to get their head around the idea that it works within the rules of physics, not by creating free energy and not by some kind of scam. And today's video is another in that vein. It's a mining train that's purely gravity powered. It doesn't use diesel, it's not solar or wind powered or any other kind of renewable energy. It simply charges its batteries when it's traveling downhill and then uses that charge to get itself back uphill to where it started. How is that not a perpetual motion machine?
Yeah, like to me what's crazy about that is like just the amount of energy. There's no way it's harnessing enough to get all the... I don't know. We'll find out. It's crazy.
In this video, I'll be answering that question, talking about how it uses gravitational potential energy and regenerative braking to make this round trip without violating the laws of thermodynamics. And I'll also talk about other similar projects and how much this technology can scale to help decarbonize transport and mining globally.
Hey, this is big. Yeah.
I'm Rosie Barnes. Welcome to Engineering with Rosie. Let's go back to this gravity-powered train. What's going on there? It's a project that was announced by Fortescue Metal Group earlier this year in partnership with Williams Advanced Engineering, and that's Williams of F1 fame, who FMG acquired. And they've given this project a very catchy but pretty much ungoogleable name, Infinity Train. It's a train that will take iron ore from their mine in the Pilbara in Western Australia to the port. According to their press release, their regenerating battery electric iron ore train project will use gravitational energy to fully recharge its battery electric systems without any additional charging requirements for the return trip to reload. The idea is that the train will travel downhill from the mine to the port carrying the payload and generate and store energy in onboard batteries on its way downhill. And then because the cars are lighter on the way back up to the mine after they iron ore at the port, they'll need less energy for the return trip than if they were full. So they can power the whole return journey with the energy they stored on the way down. This is really similar to a simple system that's been used in mining sites since the 1600s. Ropeways like this one that Tom Scott visited for a video last year can be used to transfer products from a mine to a nearby and lower location without any additional energy input. Loaded cars glide down a zip line which pulls a corresponding empty car going back up. The Infinity is a similar idea, but since the Fortescue mine is a little bigger and a lot further from the port, the required zip line would have to be hundreds of kilometers long and thick enough to pull tens of thousands of tons. So obviously they're not doing that. Instead of...
Bro, this is so interesting. It makes so much more sense now. I was under the assumption that it was going somewhat, and it would have to come back fully loaded, but that was a dumb assumption. This is crazy. This is... Damn.
Using a ropeway, the Infinity Train stores energy on board instead. Like the old-timey ropeways, the Infinity Train converts gravitational potential energy that's stored in the mass of the iron ore, sitting at some height above sea level, into kinetic energy of the moving train.
Yeah.
But then the difference to the ropeway is that in the Infinity Train, regenerative braking converts that kinetic energy into chemical energy that's stored in batteries on the train. You may have first-hand experience of regenerative braking if you drive an electric vehicle, or in fact if you travel a lot on electric or diesel electric trains, which commonly use the technology these days. The way it works is that during braking, the electric motor actually runs in reverse. So instead of using electricity to turn the motor and drive the wheels turn the motor, and the motor now acts as a generator. The resistance from this slows the car or train, and the electricity can be used to charge a battery. To power the train back up to the mine, the electric motor runs in its normal direction, powered by the battery. And as it regains elevation, some of the battery's stored energy is converted to gravitational potential energy. The interesting thing about this project is not really the regenerative braking. That's pretty much old news. It's been very common in passenger trains, especially for at least a decade. But those trains all need to be charged from an external energy source, whereas the Infinity train does not. Regenerative braking on normal trains can yield energy savings of about 8 to 17%, and even higher in very dense suburban networks that do a lot of full stops and starts. But for the Infinity train, it's a 100% saving, which is only possible because of the specific nature of the train and its route. The train itself makes a round trip from the mine to the port and back again, but its load only makes a one-way trip, strictly downhill only. And that's the reason why it's not a perpetual motion device. The gravitational potential energy the load held when I was at the mine doesn't need to be recovered as the train returns from the port. That energy can be converted to power the train back up the hill. Energy is conserved, there's no free energy needed. The big advantage of this is that they won't need to buy any diesel. And considering that Fortescue's rail operations used 82 million litres of diesel in 2021, even if that was only $1 a litre, that means they're currently spending $82 million per year in diesel. And because they won't ever have to charge the batteries externally, they don't need to buy electricity and they don't need to install any charging infrastructure. Now, I couldn't find out how much of that 82 million litres will be eliminated specifically by the Infinity Train project.
I want to add something at the end of this video, and it has a lot to do with the whole electric vehicle movement and how all brands are moving towards that and moving away from diesel and gasoline. We'll talk about that because that does have a pretty prominent part in this train thing here.
And Fortescue have only mentioned project development costs of $50 million. They haven't said what the capital cost to actually modify the trains is. So it's not really possible to get an idea of the financial payback they can expect from the Infinity Train project. Though, I expect that will turn out to save them money, at least in the long run. And in the medium term, it will be part of their announced commitment to be net zero in scope 1 and 2 emissions by 2030. Part of that is a commitment to get off diesel entirely within the next 8 years. If you're a long-time viewer of Engineering with Rosie, you might have seen a few of my other videos on energy technologies that involve conversions of gravitational potential energy. It's kind of a theme for me these days. This includes pumped hydro and other kinds of gravity energy storage. And I've mentioned before that one of the reasons that I love making videos about this kind of thing is that the basic physics behind it is so simple. And that means that it's easy to check the claims of new technologies. So let's do that now. The Infinity train weighs 40,000 tons empty and can carry 34,400 tons of iron ore. It takes that 34,400 tons of iron ore from Cloudbreak Mine at 450 meters above sea level to Port Hedland, 280 kilometers away. And it completes the trip in about 5 hours. The equation to calculate gravitational potential energy is simply mass times gravity times height. So when it starts its trip down, fully loaded, it has 326 gigajoules of gravitational potential energy, which is about 91 megawatt hours. And of course, when it's at the port, it has no gravitational potential energy as it's at sea level. To get the empty train back up to the mine, it will need to regain 176 gigajoules or 49 megawatt hours of gravitational potential energy, which needs to come from the batteries. 176 divided by 326 equals 54%. So the regenerative braking system needs to be able to convert at least 54% of the kinetic energy gain going down into usable energy.
And it could do 100%, right?
And this definitely seems plausible to me because I know that regenerative braking systems on cars can achieve much more than that. However, this is not taking into account losses from things like rail friction, aerodynamic drag, mechanical efficiencies, etc., which would result in a higher energy requirement for the train to climb back up and a lower energy recovery going down. So let's just add in very rough estimates for those losses. We'll assume that running resistance accounts for 37% of energy consumption. I got that figure from the low end of a published study on passenger trains in Japan. I use the low end because I assume a mining train moves pretty slowly and it doesn't stop and start much compared to a passenger train. And in fact, 37% may well be too high. The train needs 49 megawatt hours to climb without losses. So with losses included, it will need 78 megawatt hours in total, which is still less than the 91 megawatt hours we have to work with from the gravitational potential energy at the mine. But we're going to need to convert it with 85% efficiency, which is pretty high. Remember, though, that I've used a lot of estimates and also some basically wild guesses at some of the numbers here. So it could be 10 or 20% less than that. It wouldn't surprise me. Fortescue's CEO Elizabeth Gaines does mention that the Infinity train has the capacity to be the world's most efficient battery electric locomotive. And perhaps it will have to be. But certainly the numbers don't suggest that the project is physically impossible. So the physics makes sense, at least at the back of an envelope level of accuracy. It doesn't appear to rely on any kind of free energy or perpetual motion. But there does remain one big practical issue: energy storage. Each trip would require an energy storage system capable of storing somewhat less than 90 megawatt hours of energy per train. A 3 megawatt hour Tesla Megapack weighs about 23 tons and it's the size of a shipping container. So if we have 30 of those, it's an extra 690 tons that needs to be added to the train's weight. And that needs to be carried uphill as well as downhill, which means we'll actually need more energy storage and therefore more battery mass. So, we really ought to go back and iterate our calculations to account for this. But 690 tons, it's only about 2% of the train's empty weight. So I think it's okay to leave it there. To me, it clearly makes sense for Fortescue to do it, probably purely for financial reasons. And plus, it's part of their target to decarbonize mining operations by 2030. Fortescue's diesel consumption represents 11% of their Scope 1 emissions. So projects like this will help them to reduce that. But can we roll this out on a large scale? Is this going to help us reduce emissions from mining in a meaningful way? Probably not. This is a super specific project that only just works out, at least according to my rough calculations. This project wouldn't work if the load had to travel uphill or even if it was just level from the mine to its destination. And it wouldn't work if the running resistance was any higher because, say, it wasn't a low friction train, but instead a truck. And in fact, there is actually a mining truck that is pretty similar in concept to the Infinity train. It's called the E-Dumper. It was developed by a Swiss company, Kunstschweiz AG. They converted a diesel mining dump truck to what they're calling the world's largest electric vehicle. Though I'm not sure what they count as an electric vehicle. I mean, I know that there are plenty of electric trains and electric ferries in the world that I would call electric vehicles, and I would expect that they are bigger than this mining truck. So I'd rather call the E-Dumper the world's largest electric truck rather than the world's largest electric vehicle, but that's just being pedantic. It weighs 100 tons when fully loaded and has a 600 kilowatt hour battery with regenerative braking that recovers energy as it drives downhill, carrying a load of rocks. It then travels back uphill using that energy. But in most cases, it's not 100% self-sufficient. So for some reason, Formula E driver Lucas de Grassi had a go in it, and he said, we went out of here with 90%, we went all the way to the top, we arrived with 80% battery loaded up, and on our way back, we recovered 8%, so we came back with 88%. That's actually pretty cool. And I agree, Lucas, that's pretty cool, and it apparently saves 50,000 tons of fuel per vehicle per year, which is definitely cool. But if you are losing 2% charge each round trip, it's not 100% gravity powered like the Infinity train is going to be. So,
all right, this is not really relevant. We learned about the Infinity train. I wanted to add something. This is a good video though, but we're kind of getting off track here. But I wanted to add something about electric vehicles, and it's kind of an elephant in a room that everyone wants to ignore. To preface this, I am completely for renewable energy. I acknowledge that there certainly needs to be some action done about the climate and about fossil fuels and things of that nature. However, the complete transformation towards electric vehicles by the entire automotive industry and lots of people who are hopping on the bandwagon is not good in my opinion. If you look at lithium-ion batteries and the major components that go into that, things like cobalt, that's a great example, cobalt, a lot, like the majority of imports of cobalt come from, this is for the United States, come from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, to mine cobalt, they're using a lot of labor, child labor, and things of that nature. And this is not simply cobalt. There's a lot of other components that go into lithium-ion batteries that are not very ethically retrieved, I would say. Although the people claiming to drive the electric vehicles are like, oh, look at me, I'm so great I'm such a great person. Like, that's kind of what it goes into it. Then you get the whole thing about the recycling of these lithium-ion batteries and how we don't really have the infrastructure or plants to recycle them in a renewable way. Like, you're using just as much, like, you see what I'm saying here? Like, it's not as black and white as people make it out to be. And me saying that, people will say, oh my God, he's against the environment, he's this. Like, no, like, that's not what I'm saying here. But it's just like, and I think the same could go with this Infinity train and electric trains and electric everything. Because think about that battery for that Infinity train. I'm all for it. I mean, it's a great idea, and it definitely works in this specific situation. And I'm excited to see where that technology develops and what we end up using it for, like, in our society. I mean, that could that could change a lot of things. So I'm all for it, but it's like I don't like how quickly the things are just progressing and kind of turning a blind eye to whatever, guys. Anyways, at the end of the day, things are going to happen, and we just have to roll with the punches and flow with it because we don't have the power to change that democracy. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you have any other videos you'd like me to check out, throw them in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.